And we are back on STS Sharpen the Spear podcast with, you guessed it, another incredible guest. I got Gabrielle Mills, and she's here, and she's going to share some great stuff, as all my guests always do. But before all that, no one knows Gabrielle better than Gabrielle. So, Gabrielle,
Let's hope
fill us
so.
in. Backstory, bring us up to speed, then we'll get into all the good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate you welcoming me with open arms. As you said, I'm Gabrielle. I am a business owner of 9 years. I was a corporate refugee from IHG back in 2016 is when I quit my job to be an entrepreneur. I have not looked back since. And I've been doing Sourced ever since then. Source is a back office services company. We do 5 different services in the back office: accounting, marketing, talent acquisition, HR, and admin support. As you can imagine, doing all those things, I've learned a lot about entrepreneurship and running businesses in that time. And now I spend my time teaching other people how to do it.
Well, that's awesome. How did you get, was it your idea for Sourced, or is that something you worked for, you left there? Just kind of give me a little bit of story in that, because that's a lot of irons in the fire,
Yeah,
so to
it
speak,
is.
right? To manage.
Yes, it is. We got some advice early on to niche down, and we didn't listen. And in some ways, I would like to say that we should have listened, but in other ways, I really love what it is that we do and the service we provide to people. To answer your question, yes, it was mine and my business partner's idea, but I have to tell you, Richard, it was not through this like great epiphany or not even going to say we were really smart enough to come up with it. Our big idea was we knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs, and we knew we wanted to be in the B2B space. So our best idea was to go and talk to business owners and say, where are you underserved? What kind of business would you want to work with? If you were to do it all over again, what would you do? And we have a whiteboard in our conference room that used to be in the basement bedroom of my mom's house. And we put all of those answers up on that whiteboard, and the concept of Sourced came out of what business owners told us they wanted.
Now, we're going to stop right there, because I'm going to tell you, like, you kind of downplayed that method, but it's one of the best methods you could ever use. Okay, because you're actually going to the people that you want to serve and fill in the gap.
Mm-hmm.
What is the issue? And then creating. Now, that's entrepreneurship. You found a problem, you went out and found a problem, and then you created the solution that no one else had, or maybe it was there somewhere, but then you were able to build it and deliver it. So whether it was by chance or you stumbled on it, I think that method is the way to go. Okay, because you know you have viability when you start getting the same responses, right? Kind of take it through that. So that's awesome. I love that. So and let's talk. I want to talk about the niche thing too, because I struggled with that a while back. When I started, it was like landscaping. Okay, and I'm like, well, I've been doing this a long time. I'm gonna do custom water features. So all I did was water features. So I'm doing ponds, waterfalls, streams back in '90 when it was like no one else was doing it, and it blew up. I did great, right then I started sculpture and all that stuff, but understanding that niche. So I was wet only. So I could go in for a landscaper, build this incredible water feature, and they bring all the plants, everything else to the sides. So it was really good, right? But again, seeing what was missing and that niching. I do it today with my book, same thing, right? We have to niche and target these things, because we can't be all things to all people in general, right? The average person is not. And that niche, I'm going to let you talk about this real quick, just on the niche thing. Kind of what's your philosophy behind niching? Because I think it's important we kind of get some definitions out there and some reasons behind it.
So what I was told early on was you're doing too many things. And there's one side of my belief is I just want to serve people, and I will serve people in the way that I will show up in the way that people need me to show up. And what our clients, then just business owners at the time, told us was that we have all of these different things, and there was a through line of back office. So we are able to serve a lot more people and meet them where they have a need right now because we offer so many different services. We didn't want to be people that saw businesses struggling to find help and to get good quality resources in the back office. And then we have to say, we don't do that. I'm sorry, we can't help you, but here's somebody that can. We wanted to be able to serve them. On the one hand, I love that. I love being able to meet people where they are and where they're struggling and saying, I can help you with this. On the other hand, I believe that we would have been able to grow our company a lot faster if we weren't tackling as many services at one time. There is a very strong philosophy of start with one or two, get really good at it, and then add, and then add, and then add, grow to scale. In which we did with some of our services, but we really started with most of them. And it has taken us a longer time to find our ideal client, to find our ideal processes, to learn about what the type of person we need to hire looks like. So it's a trade-off. It's a trade-off that I accepted, and I like that part of my story. But if I were to do it all over again, I don't know if I would do it the same way. I'd have to look at it and say, I get to say yes more often and I get to help more people. But am I also sacrificing some of my peace of mind because I have to figure out more problems at the same time? It's just a matter of if a company is looking to niche down or not, they have to look at all the different sides and say, what am I willing to trade off?
Right. I think it's, to me, part of it is a two-part thing for me. It's a perceived level of expertise when you niche. Okay. And it's a true level of expertise. Okay. Initially you want the perception, oh, like I'm in the roofing business. Okay. Hey, he's a roofer. Well, I want to deal with roofers. I need a roofer to tell me how to do my roofing. You know what I mean? Which they don't, but they think they do,
Yeah.
right? So it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So you get the perception, but then and to me, that's almost more important than the actual expertise of, have you done this? Have you done this extensively? Are you give me that one? You're going to give me that one little trick, which is kind of irrelevant in the big picture, really, when
Mhm.
we're dealing with business and things like that. So I think it's really important. I really like the niche aspect. I had some friends, really, really talented entrepreneurs, and they were starting a new thing. And same principle, they're writing a book. I'm like, this is a really wide net. This is really, really wide. I don't know who we're like really serving. It took a while to really flesh that out. But once you dial it in, that laser focus, and I'm going to go with the way you said it, add later. Keep that
Mhm.
main thing, stay focused on that, perfect it, and then start adding spokes to the hub, right on the wheel.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important, like when you're talking about the trade off, I think if we wanted to do more, so we were willing to grow slower. If your goal is to grow faster, niche down and then add. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was to create a solid brand, help more people, serve more people, meet them where they are. We had time to grow. If somebody who's starting their business or looking at scaling their business wants to grow faster, niching down is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you on that then, because I'm not into necessarily fast growth. I want sustained, right? So I think with the way you did it by going slower, okay, yeah, you were serving more and everything else, but even if you niche, I think there needs to be an anticipation of growing slow.
Mhm.
Because you're going to get foundational stuff, especially if it's your first business. You need to create that foundation to build on, and that takes time. But
It
if
does.
that's solid, everything else is going to come. But these people want to go 0 to 100 miles an hour in like 8 months, a year, 2 years. I've always found they've really stalled out
Yeah.
because,
Well, and I think the narrative across society and the masses is misguided because what we hear is what makes a really good pitch video on an ad, which is I started my business and in 3 months I was triple my income. And that is probably true for a very small group of people. Is it possible? Absolutely. Hell yeah. Is that likely? No. And I think that um, the narrative is slightly skewed that if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll grow super, super fast. I think people are forgetting sometimes that to build a solid, stable, steady business, it does take time. Just the first year or two is you just learning the ropes of your own business, and figuring it out. Scaling doesn't come until year 3 and after.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's what I've seen in the numerous businesses we've served.
And I try to help business a lot when they're at that stage. I said, listen, there's growth and there's scaling. You need to understand growth costs money.
That it does.
Okay. It costs more money than scaling. Scaling, you've got duplicatable systems, you're ready, you've got all your numbers down and everything else. Scaling's replicating something where growth is still figuring it out. Trying to get location number 2, location number 3, right? Those are still in the growth mode. They're not in the
Mhm.
scale mode yet. So a lot of people don't understand that difference. And that really helps them go. I said, so
Mhm.
it's going to be expensive. There's a lot of reinvestment to get to the scaling level,
Yes.
right?
My business partner, I don't know where she got it. She might have come up with it herself. She's very, very smart, so I wouldn't be surprised. It was like, you got to spend money to make money. And it's so true. You got to spend money to make money. Now, you can take that and think like, I can go spend money on shoes. And if I buy the right shoes, then I'm going to look more professional and get a client. While that's the case, it really in practice, it's more like you have to spend money on advertising. You have to spend money on a location. You have to spend money on hiring the right people. There's been so many times that we are just gritted our teeth and we're like, God, I hope we can make this. I hope we can dig ourselves out of a little bit of debt in order to make this work. And it does with the right hard work and grit. But sometimes you got to make some serious investments in order to make money down the road.
Yeah, I'll give you one word: payroll. Okay.
Yeah.
Payroll is what's going to kill you. Okay. Look, we want to hire, we need people. And I've had my clients go through the ups and downs of this, but it's always there.
Yeah.
It never
Don't
goes
don't make
away.
my eye twitch.
Yeah. You just added $40,000. You just added $75,000. You just added 100,000, like that eats up that cash flow really fast.
It
That's just
does.
my cautionary tale to all those out there. Like that's what, if there's nothing else you pay attention to, it better be your payroll because
Mm-mm.
it can bury you real
Yes.
fast.
It we celebrated a couple of years in, I think it was year 3 or 4, that we no longer had to watch our bank account when we had payroll. And that was a huge celebration. And then what we didn't know at the time is, don't worry, that season's going to come back again. And it just cycles. So you don't have to watch it. You're doing great. You're making money. You could make payroll without having to look at your bank account. And then boom, there's another season where, yes, you do.
Yeah, it's just that consistent you can't get away from. It's just a reality when people, you see people on both sides of the fence, right? They're on the team or they're the owner, and everyone's complaining, why don't you pay us more? Why can't we get more overtime? Meanwhile, you're on the other side as the owner freaking out like, I'm not even going to be able to make payroll Friday. You like want to raise and I can barely make it on that day. So it's really something when you think about that, because I did the same thing. Like, hey, we're just doing overtime. We're getting so much work done. This is great. But we really didn't quantify what we're spending our time on and what really wrapping up that job really meant and what it
Hmm.
really cost. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's a challenge. So let's move on to the next stage. You got your growth under control, you got a little bit of scale going, right? So from there, where you're at today, like give us kind of that transition from where you were working in that to kind of what your focus is today and what you're doing.
I love where we are today. It is 1,000 million times better than where we were. I love building a company. I love growing it from the ground up. I think that's so awesome, but it's a lot of hard work. If you don't love it, don't do it, because on some days it's torture. On some days it's the best decision you've ever made. I have been extremely fortunate to have really good support in my company and also really good support in my personal life, to where the business is now. We're focusing on growth and scale instead of the model and getting the company off the ground. We have some of the best people I've ever met working for us. We have some sort of stability, not enough to make me like not lose sleep at night. I think as an entrepreneur, you'll always lose sleep at night for some things, but now we are focused on operational efficiency and monitoring performance, and is everyone doing what they're supposed to do, and how do we get sales more predictable? These are problems that are infinitely better than where we started.
They're fun.
They're
They're
fun
fun.
problems.
They're
I
fun
love it.
problems.
They're fun problems. And it's the type of business that I went into business wanting to do, but it took 8, 9 years to get there.
Does everyone hear that? Everyone's listening. Do you hear that? You know, so I always tell my kids and everyone else, like, hey, every overnight success only took 10 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the reality in any business. I mean, I tell people at Culver's, you know, the custard burger
Yeah. The
place, you know,
best custard
okay,
going. Yeah.
that's what they got. That's great is a custard. So they spent 7 years, one store, before they even opened the second one. 7 years perfecting that model, then open the second one, then after the third, fourth, and then they started the franchise thing, everything else. So a lot of time in the game, and look at them now; they're 700, 800,
Love it.
locations or whatever. So
I
it's quite
went
a
to
cool
a
thing.
conference in 2019, and this was like we'd been in business for 3 years. And I went in November. And so 2019 was not a fun year for us. So it was just like I was trying to learn and do things, and I wasn't going into it at the best headspace. And there was a speaker, Tom Bilyeu, who I believe he started Quest, the protein bars.
Yep.
And he got up on the stage and he said, if you want to be successful at anything, go disappear for 10 years and then you'll be successful at it. And I definitely did not want to listen to him at the time, but I then took a few more years and I'm seeing the trajectory of how things are going. I'm like, gosh darn it, he was absolutely right.
Yeah. He's not on stage for nothing. You know, that journey to them. Now you're talking about going into a saturated market, red ocean. You're talking nutrition,
Yeah.
nutrition bars, supplements, all that stuff is just like I'm like no interest. Okay, I own gyms and I was love training and doing all this stuff, but it was just so inundated. It's hard. But you take someone like that who makes an incredible product, again, puts in that time and gets it out there and overcomes it, man. That's why there's certain people when you look and when they reach that level of success, like a guy like him, like when you get to your 8, 9 year and now you're able to scale, like there's a lot of respect for those people. If you've been in the game at all, I've been in 35 years, right? We understand like there's a whole new level of respect, from your peers, from those who've been in the game, right? You're like, okay, I'm in that club now.
We all got the same bruises.
That's right.
We all got the same broken nose.
I say it's all scarred. We've all been punched in the face and tasted our own blood spilt by others, right? So we get it and it's okay. So, but it's like a club. You got your startups. Yeah, that's fun. Okay.
Depending on the
Okay.
day.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, it's fun, but most people don't make it, right? But it's that time in the game. 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, stuff like that. It's so good
Yeah.
because you're at a new level. You're just at a place that you're at a place of understanding that other people cannot. I mean, that circle gets small, right? Because there's only so many people that understand what you went through to get where you're. That's why you're on this podcast today, because you got all this time in, you built these things, you succeeded, you're scaling. Now you're able to share. We're too many. What's the great saying I heard? I'm going to use the air quote in kids today. Kids today want to be discovered, not developed. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's what they want. Like, make me an influencer of what I have
That's
no idea.
interesting.
Yeah. So it was not my quote. It was from a woman and I forget her name right now, but I remember the quote. It was awesome. And it's so fitting
It's
for
an
social
interesting
media and everything
take.
else. Yeah.
Sure.
So we've been developed. Okay.
Yeah.
You, me,
Yeah.
we're developed. Like you're saying, like you can finally, and I think you're right too, Gabrielle, is we're never done thinking about it. Okay. We have different problems to think about. Like you said, we have fun problems. We have bigger problems that are more fun. And we get to approach that. Go to these different levels where other people aren't. So it's so great to be able to be in that position because like you're not here because you didn't love what you did. Right. So now you love what you did. You love what you did. Now you get to do it big. So the love like grows. It just gets better, right? I mean, that's how I feel. It's just like, wow, I get to like do everything that I do. I get to coach businesses. I get to help them create that freedom in their business, right? I help them get to that success point, get past that year 4 and 5 and 6 and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And it's awesome.
Well, and I think too that yes, I love what I do, and it's finally gotten to a place that I get to do the activities that I love too. I've always loved what I did, but I didn't maybe love the activities that I did on a day-to-day basis. I love that now. But I also have surrounded myself with people that do other things way better than me. And because I tried to do them by myself before, and not necessarily by myself, these people have always been around, but I have a deep appreciation for the gifts that they have, because one, we wouldn't have gotten out of a lot of the problems that we were experiencing without them, but we also grew together and we grew in different ways. So they appreciate me for the gifts that I bring, but I mean, the operational stuff that I like looking at a high level, they like to go deep, and I am just so thankful that they do, because I've realized through the last 9 years, I don't want to do that, but
Right.
they excel at it and they're good at it. And I think that you get an appreciation for people that are entrepreneurs in this space, but you also get an appreciation for the people in your company too, that's
Yeah.
doing the
I
things that you no longer have to.
Yeah, I love it. That's a huge takeaway because none of us can do all things, right? In your business. Now you start out that way, and you have to do whatever you got to do to get the thing off the ground, get off the launch pad. That's all
Yep.
good, but you're
Got to
right.
do all the things.
But that's why we call it a team, right? The
Mm-hmm.
team doesn't have all the same players.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not all the same positions, right? You got to have people who are doing different things. And when you get those levels of expertise, people who actually love it, that's who I want in the position. And I want to make it so they can win every day,
Yep.
and do their thing. And it's like,
Yep.
and they love it. That way we can grow together, like you're saying. And you start to feel that camaraderie, and people understand there's still a chain of command, right? There's different levels of respect and everything else, but people know it and they start to work for real purpose. And when people are working for real purpose, they actually like to come to work,
They
and
do.
get their stuff done. And when you recognize, hey, you guys are awesome. I can't do this without you, kind of thing. Unless you make me, then I will.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you don't get to hold me hostage either. But
Yep.
we're building systems and making
That
this stuff
that's
work.
a
But yeah,
lesson in itself that I had to learn. I had to learn because I came from corporate and I loved my job at corporate. I loved working at IHG, but there was a certain standard that was everyone held to just naturally. And then coming into small business world, I had no idea that I had to relearn how the rest of the world works. And you had to hold people accountable, first of all, hold people accountable, period, and then hold them accountable in a completely different way than what was appropriate in corporate. I had to relearn all of those things. So even that it was a journey in and of itself.
yeah. When you start having to create the standards,
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing to come place and say, okay, well, red means stop and green means go. Okay, I got that. But like you got to come in and say what this really means and what this means and this means. I had to do it multiple times with different businesses, and I found
Create them and then train off of them too.
and what I found over all these years of coaching now is they forget one thing. Okay, it's consequences. They leave off the consequences. I mean, I don't mean like, yes, well, they'll get in trouble. I mean, what specifically happens when you do this, or you do this, or the second time you do this, and not just you get a verbal warning, you get a written warning. I'm talking in detail. This is what's going to happen. And with my gym, I had trainers and all that. And I'm like, okay, if you do this and this and this, you will be terminated. If you do this and this, if you whatever date a client, you'll be terminated. I'm like, I laid out about 15 things, and here's the specific consequence, because without them knowing, they can always say, well, you never told me. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
we really create the expectations, but the expectations are great. Job functions are great, but the consequences are key. And it's a struggle to fit the right consequences to the right infractions. Did you find that yourself?
If I'm being entirely honest, I'm really bad at following through on consequences.
You're
Um,
the problem.
So I have a little bit of a different problem of holding, like I can like pie in the sky and I can come up with the appropriate consequence to the infraction, but actually following through on that is where I still have area for growth. So I have a little bit of a different problem.
Yeah, I get it. And this way, no one has, at least you have consequences. Most people
Yeah, well,
don't even get
I
to write
didn't.
them. You just don't, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't. Like that's been my recent like learning of, okay, like, well, we have two different sides of our business. So I learned it on one side of our business, but I didn't apply it to the other side of my business, which is completely different. The talent acquisition side is completely different than the fractional side. And I mean, it sounds really stupid saying it now. It's not stupid. Like I just had to learn it, but I did not apply what I already knew back to the other side And I'm just like, of course you have to apply it. But, you live and learn. My best advice to somebody that's going into a business on their own or looking at growing their business is you're going to have to start over from learn everything from scratch all over again. So be okay with making mistakes because you're going to make them every day.
Yeah, and I have found too, a lot of people get so laser focused on something, okay, a part of their business, like they really can dig in deep with that. And like you said, they come up with something else that has to be reused. Like you can just apply this and they don't. They jump into it and think they have to rethink again and redevelop it. They're not thinking, how do I duplicate? How do I take what I learned here and put it over here? There's a portion of this that can be applied to here. I don't have to keep rewriting the rules, like SOPs and everything else. Like a lot of these are general applications that we need to, we need to adhere to. So yeah, it can be a challenge. Let me ask you this. Did you ever suffer from, I'm going to call it distraction. Some call it SOS, shiny object syndrome. You're in the business now with yours, and this is why I'm asking, because you did kind of wide net to begin, right? So you're trying to serve a lot of different things. I often find when people start going and they're doing well and they're starting to get some traction doing well, that opportunity kind of flutters its way in like a little butterfly. And all of a sudden you get distracted. You want to go chase this. Well, we're doing okay here. I think I got this pretty good. And you chase that. Did you guys ever get any of that? Kind of really have to teach yourself to say no, or how does this fit?
All the time. All the time. We went into business, Richard, saying we wanted to say yes to people as many times as we could. So of course we did that. And we had to learn how to unlearn to do that. And we can still say yes to a lot of different things, but we know our lane. We took so many left turns that we did not need to make. That wasn't our lane, or we weren't good at it. We're like, but the market, there's so much opportunity here and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the last one was just even 2 years ago. I mean, it's just so difficult to not be distracted by a really good opportunity, a really good segment, a really good customer profile, really good money. Like there's all sorts of things that are going to be trying to distract you. And some of those things are actually really good, and you should put them in your business, and you shouldn't say no to everything, because it might be that one of those things actually is the game changer in your company. So yes, of course, I think everyone is going to. You just have to build up a discernment of what is your lane, where do you need to pivot, how are you going to do that strategically, so you're not distracted by the shiny objects, but you're actually making an informed strategic move.
Yeah, I agree. We've all suffered from it. I don't think
Yeah,
there's anyone,
totally.
especially in that first kind of 3 to 5 years, you're going to get really into that, and even beyond. Like you said, you start getting, it's hard to stay on there. What I've done and what I can help my clients with is we start with exit strategy,
Uh-huh.
like how long and how much, that kind of thing, work away backwards. So every time I get those little opportunities, I run it through. Does this get me closer to my exit, or does it detract from it? If it detracts, I get to give it a hard no. If it gets me closer, I'm all in. Like you said, it could be a game changer. Like, this is awesome, Bill. I was looking at 10 years. This is going to get me there in 7.5. This is going to be awesome, right? So that's all good. So people just need that mechanism, to really evaluate these opportunities that are coming in, because you don't want to just say no to everything.
No, you
Because
don't want
like
to say no to everything. And my advice to when that comes up, because it will come up, it will come up often, is to first start with, is it congruent with your business? Is it truly a left turn, or is it an add-on? Is it a value add? Is it something that already aligns with what you're doing in your business? And if the answer to that is no, put that to the side until you feel stable and secure enough to be able to add that on in another time. If it is congruent, then you should pay more attention to it, of like, okay, how would I build this? What's the energy and effort that it's going to take to build this, to make it right, to have it fit in with my services? And then you can evaluate it from there.
Yeah, I think also along those same lines is you have to remember this too. You've built a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you start to bring in another opportunity. You also have to ask, how does this affect the brand? Or like, how are people going to feel about the company if I add this? Because this may tick off a lot of people. This may not serve my straight client. This should be another offering for them, right? Or whatever that might be. So it's important to think about that, because you go messing your brand up.
Mm-hmm.
That's a setback.
Yeah.
When people lose faith in your brand, or it's unclear now because you're dumping this other stuff on there, that
Yeah.
is really bad.
Yeah. And first of all, I came from branding. I was in the
So
branding
you know.
department of IHG. So I am a brand nerd. I love it. And where I see people losing on the brand side is exactly what you said about clarity of your brand. It took us, because we had so many different services, to really come up with the overarching theme, which is back office. The first 2 years, I didn't have that. So it just looked like we were doing a kitchen sink version of business, which made no sense to anybody and hurt the brand. Eventually, we got there on back office to where people were like, okay, I understand how all of these are together. If you get that right, really where I see people making the biggest mistakes on their brand is in their customer service. I think that is your reputation is the most important part of your brand. You can have the best logo, the best colors, the best concept, the best messaging, but if your customer relationships aren't good, forget it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. Try to, I go, so I would just had discussion, whatever, before we get on here. I said, customer service is that cornerstone of your business.
Has to be.
It has to be, right? So
Has
it's
to
just,
be.
it's good to hear that from you because I just, I see it so often. People they don't really get it. Like you said, spending time, like let's take the term back office. I first heard that maybe 15 years ago. I was starting to get a little more on the virtual online sale, doing some other stuff after I lost everything in 08, 09. But that term is a really good term once you know what it means.
Hmm.
Back office is like what I'm out back. Like I'm in the, but like you said, if you didn't know it, because it does describe exactly what you do,
It is.
right? And
But
it's, and
I had never heard, not that that term didn't exist. Obviously, it didn't exist. But in the rooms that I was in trying to describe myself, I heard nobody else using that term because our business concept is very different. It's all the services that we do, it's not in another company. The closest I've been able to find is in a company that does just for law. We do them for all businesses. We're industry agnostic. So I saw no one in my space using a term of any kind. So I just had to like stumble across it. And when I heard somebody at some point use fractional back office, I was like, oh, well, that's what I do.
yeah,
That'll
yeah.
help.
Yeah. No, it's really, I think it's amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, like, it just makes sense. And like I said, once you know what it is, you're like, that's the toolbox and you got all the tools inside,
Right.
right?
Right.
Back office is your toolbox. Open it up and I got this for CRMs and I got this for this, I got this for that. It's really great. And it's cool. You really mastered that and being a brand expert this isn't a dig. This is a compliment, but I like to see that you struggled
Yeah.
to figure it out for your company because it's hard.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's really, really hard, and it's not your name. Like I do a lot in the trades and service industries, right? So they always put their name on the side of the van, like mine's Walsh. So Walsh is whatever. And then whatever they do is like, 2 inches. I'm like, you got it backwards. Like you need to tell them what you do. Your name is inconsequential. Okay. They don't look up your name if their toilet's overflowing. They want to
Yeah.
know, do you fix overflowing toilets? That's what they want to know. They don't need
Yeah,
to know your name.
in the branding world, you're absolutely right. There's a shift that happens when you have critical mass on brand awareness. A lot of us aren't playing in that space, so we have to lean into our category or our tag or whatever. But I mean, we're business owners, we're control freaks and we got ego, right? Like we all do. I don't care what anybody says. We all do. And so of course we want to slap our logo up on something and everyone know it. But you're right. That's not the way that it is. The customers, you need to start lower.
I have this habit. I love the cell phones, because I've been around a while. But you just drive and I take pictures of vans and trucks with their decals, their logos. And I'm making this whole thing like this is gonna be a great presentation. Like you
Oh,
look at
that
it,
would
well,
make a good.
what does this person do? Everyone's like, I have no idea. Look, this guy's a specialist in 15 things.
Mhm.
You're like that. I go, you're not a specialist in 15 things. Be a specialist in what's most profitable. How
Yes.
about you do that? So
Yes.
people
Yes.
buy that from you and you can do really well. It's just things like that. You look at it. I have one great example. I'm sitting behind a smaller box truck and it's cool. It's got a furnace, it's got a furnace on there and it's got as low as $99 a month. And then their number on the bottom. I'm like, done. That's what I'm talking about. It's a furnace It's $99 a month. If I need a new furnace, I know exactly who to call. This guy,
Yeah, that's
because
kind of cool.
it's their like most profitable thing. I guarantee you,
I never
right?
even thought you could like lease out a furnace.
Right? It's all financing.
Then you saw
Yeah.
me like being like, that's a thing.
Can you give me the number?
Yeah. No, I
But
paid
it's
for my furnace outright, like an idiot.
right,
I didn't know
right.
that
So
was out there.
I'm like looking at this, going, yeah, because it's $5,000, it's $7,000, $10,000 for and you're like, I'm like, that is great marketing. It's great marketing. I don't see the side of the truck. I don't know what their name is. I don't care because they're going to finance my furnace.
Yeah.
I
But
don't
you
care.
should care once you actually have that client so that
Yes,
client knows how to
agreed.
refer you to the
Exactly.
next person, because it's like,
Yes.
oh, I just have this person's number or I just have this guy's name. It's like, okay, branding builds legitimacy. I don't care who you are, it builds legitimacy. You need to have a website, you need to have good branding, you need to have good marketing, because what you really want is referrals. And if you don't have a referable business that people are going to trust before the phone call, it's not going to happen.
I'm with you. So I'm just for clarity, I'm 100% with you on that. I'm talking top of funnel. Okay, so that 99,
Yes.
that's my top of funnel. Ring the phone. I'll take it from
Yes.
there. Okay, then they
Yes.
come into the right. So you're exactly right. So, and that's a great thing to touch on is that process. Okay, that top of funnel all the way through and after the sale, right? Really important, and your brand mixed in with that. Because the brand, as I tell people, and you may have a better definition than I do, of course, but I say the brand is how people feel about what you do. It's a feeling. It's not whatever. It's a feeling, it's not a logo that they recognize per se. It's a feeling they have, whether it's Coca-Cola, FedEx, or Pizza Hut. I don't know, whatever it is. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah. I think it's, yes, I do think it's, yeah, I think you say it right.
Yeah, it's just hard.
Very hard.
It's just hard to get there. So I don't want to.
There's a lot of layers to it. And uh, start when you asked me if that's how I perceive that, I hesitated a little bit because there are so many different layers to branding. And then branding then eventually transitions into marketing, which eventually transitions into sales, which, it's all very interconnected. You can't have branding with or marketing without branding. You can't have sales without branding. There's a lot of different facets to it that make it complex and that make it really important. But I think you're right. At the end of the day, it's all about how you are perceived in the marketplace.
Yeah. So let me ask you this now, because that's really good. You got branding, you got marketing, you got sales, you got all this has to go together. And here's what I think people don't understand. And you can, agree or not agree. That's a time span. Okay. That's not 1 month of thinking and putting it together and we're ready to roll.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean, that
Yes.
people don't understand the time involved, because you don't create a brand in a day. You create a logo in a day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You have a logo, then you have a concept, and then, so it can be in the years of building a brand,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're making sales, you're doing things, but that brand, right?
What I think is not said enough is that whether you're focusing on your brand or not, you're building your brand anyway. Like just by working, you're building your brand. And is the brand going to serve you or is it not? Because it is coming to fruition whether you're putting intention behind it or not. How you make your customers feel, what you look like, are you referable, are you legitimate, what is your messaging, what are you communicating with people? All of that you're potentially unintentionally doing. So you should probably put some effort and intention behind it because it's going to build itself then versus
Yeah,
you having control of it.
that's a great way to look at it, because have you ever tried to undo a brand? Because you've built it so poorly. Now you got to unravel
Yeah.
that. You're still in business. Now you got to try to fix it
I
because you didn't
haven't.
pay it.
Thankfully, I have not,
Yeah.
because that doesn't sound fun.
I've seen it. And sometimes when I'm working with people, especially if they're early in their stage, maybe a year in their business,
Hmm.
and we start talking about this, and I start talking about all the stuff you just hit, reputation and this and service, and their eyes just keep getting bigger, like they're going, I didn't think of any of that.
Hmm.
I said, well, you're not, but you have to do it now. Like you're only a year in. Like you're not exactly, making a gazillion dollars. Okay. You're still trying to get sales every week. So like you need to really focus on that. It's the long game, but it has to be played. You have to play. You can't wait till you get oh, when I get 7 figures, then I'm going to worry about brand. Too late. So it's important that people remember that and really understand it. It's hard. A lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people, what am I trying to say? There's branding experts, okay? And it's difficult, but here's my challenge. I know we're just kind of getting to the branding thing, but there's all these steps prior to your, let's say, hiring a brand. Gabrielle, you're a branding expert. I'm going to hire you to work on my brand and fix my brand and create my brand or whatever it is. Well, there's information that you have to have prior to that commitment, right? Ideal client profiles, what you already said, the messaging, that stuff actually has to kind of be together. It can maybe be wrong, but you need to have it. Then you have something to work with. I see too many people trying to hire a branding expert, like right in the beginning, and they haven't spent 5 hours on working on all those components, and some of these branding
Well,
people
because
don't
it's really
actually,
hard.
it is, and no one's giving them the direction because it's not a normal thing. You don't learn that in school, if you will, but it needs to be important. And I think I'll use this as a litmus test for anyone who's out there looking for the branding person, right, to hire. Like, it's kind of an integrity check. If you're not giving them anything and they still want to take your money, I don't know. You might want they should be saying, well, do you have this? No, I don't. Well, you really need that. Then we can begin.
I think you can. So we also help people develop that, and we take all of the heavy lifting off of creating that. What I think you're getting at is you have got to have thought about it. You have to know who you want to be, how you want to make people feel, what kinds of things. Well, a lot of times when we're building brands with people, because we do this in our marketing, if somebody doesn't have good marketing, we start with branding. And one of those things is a message map of like, what are your values? What is your vision? What's your tagline? What messages are we going to be leaning on so we can do the marketing effectively? A lot of the times we're just taking what it is that we hear from that person when they're describing their company, when they're just describing what their clients have said, what their customers have said on reviews and things. And we're tweaking in a way that makes it marketable and that makes it make sense and concise, but the content's already there. We just have to pull it out. So
Right.
people don't have to spend hours and hours putting it together because that is hard work. And I can understand if you're busy building a business, you don't want to take the time to do that hard work, but you have to have at least thought about it. You have to have at least conceptualized what you want people to think and feel. So then somebody can take the ball and finish it for you.
So I'm with you. Like, I've done it, right? Now, whether it's a marketing company, they give you the onboarding list. Okay. And I'm going to fill all this stuff out. I spent like 8 hours.
Mm, yeah.
Like filling it, and I'm like, and I'm making copies of that because I don't think I can ever pull that out of my brain again. Okay. But I'm like, this is some deep stuff, so like it is a lot of time, and the prompts are great. If they ask you, how do you do this with this? Who are you serving with it? Like, just those simple questions, like you're saying, those
Yeah.
prompts,
It is thought
that's it.
provoking.
I'm telling, and then you go, I don't know much.
Yeah.
You start really
And
thinking like,
they're not hard questions. It's like,
right.
okay, tell us about your customer, and it's like,
Yeah. Yep.
oh,
Yep. Yeah, so I'm just letting people know if you can get access to those kind of forms earlier, the better, and really start thinking and trying to answer those in detail.
it's
Like,
great advice.
really take it going all the way through, because it changes how you serve. You serve your customers differently because now you know who they are. They're not some guy walking in the store to buy a pack of gum. Okay, I mean, these are people you want to have repeat business with. You want to serve them on a continuing basis, or bring them into a program, or have them subscribe to something. So it's really important. So I'm glad we got to hit on that, because that's I've been, so multiple businesses really challenged with that sometimes. Like, I get what I do. I'm great at it, and people want it, but why? I haven't gone into the why. Why do they want what I have?
Yeah.
I just think it's because of me.
Yeah. We did an exercise. It's more than an exercise. Have you heard of Donald Miller?
Yeah.
He
StoryBrand.
wrote Building a Story Brand. And I read that book, and you've read something or seen something profound when it is no new information, but it is extraordinarily impactful. And he basically put common sense on a page for marketing. And we followed his Building a Story Brand framework. Richard, it took us, there was at least one day, a full 8-hour day, and we didn't even finish it. And that doesn't even include all the other random 2-hour sessions, 4-hour sessions that we had, just coming up with this simple framework that it seems like a 5-year-old can do it. But when you're looking across your business and saying, cutting through your own mental clutter of this is who I am, this is who I want to be, this is how I want to be perceived, it's really challenging to do. However, I do put my stamp of approval on Donald Miller's building a story brand and that framework. I think it's fabulous. We do all of our marketing off of it. We do all of our branding off of it because it's the right way.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And like I said, that work, like you just test. Now we're people been in business, done this, but every time it's a lot of work. But like you said, the clarity you get,
Mm-hmm.
okay, once it's done and you hand it to a marketer, okay, now you can literally feel like if they screw this up, they screwed it up
Yep.
because I got all this. So
Well,
if
and
this,
being the marketer, if we are given that rubric from the beginning, from I
yeah,
don't care who did it, another agency, you've already provided that to us. It makes our ability to give you good marketing that much better, which is why we recommend starting with doing some initial branding for new marketing clients if they don't have that, because otherwise we're just trying to lift weights and we hadn't built the muscle yet. And it's going to be so much harder.
yeah, great point. I mean, and this is, I want people to take this away because marketers are marketer. You know what they can do? They can market, which they can sell you all day long. Okay. On their program. Okay. So they're really good at that stuff, right? Because they know they serve everything else. So you got to go in with some tools to give them. Okay. Because then they'll create it correctly. They'll actually drive you the right traffic because they might get you leads or traffic, but it's going to be the wrong traffic because you haven't done the work and they're trying to figure out who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They shouldn't have to do that. That's not their wheelhouse. Their
Yeah, we don't
wheelhouse
we
is
don't like trial and error.
right. You know, you want to win. You want to win. The client wants to win. Everybody wants to win. So great takeaway in this just from brand building and just your business in general is really find those questions and complete those in detail and take those through because it's really, man, it makes a difference in your business. I'll tell you, I use it in a strategic vision making too. And anyone who comes on the team understands exactly what they're there for, how they're the hero in the journey, specifically our purpose, what we're all doing. Everyone's on, and this is 14 pages. Okay, for the company, it's not like a 4-sentence mission statement on the wall. We very detailed so people really understand how they're involved in the whole process. So, yeah, I love it. This has been just awesome. That's great. Let's do some final thoughts.
All right, let's do it.
I see you've got some final thoughts.
I do.
Yes, I can tell you're ready. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I'm putting you on the spot. No, I love to do this. So at the end, like we've had an incredible conversation. There's just
Yes,
been
it
a
has
ton of
been.
value in this. We really bring in some great stuff here. So we'll kind of wrap it up, a little nutshell thing, but give the final golden nugget. You know, you've got the time in business. You're a branding expert. You guys do the marketing, all this back office stuff, all that. Like, what's the final takeaway for our listeners?
I think if I were to wrap it up from this conversation is the strategy is focusing on your business, not necessarily in it. That's a buzz phrase that people use a lot, but you won't grow your business if you're in it. You have to spend the time thinking of how you want to do things, how it needs to go to market, who you want to serve, what you want them to get out of those products, how you want to build the products, how do you scale, how do you grow. This takes work. This takes intention. This takes time. Time that you don't have if you're busy actually fulfilling the services that you're doing. You're too close to it if you're fulfilling the services that you're doing. Now, there is a time and a season for that to be done. Eventually, you hope to hire people to take over the tasks of that. And if that's not your season right now, that's okay. You have to be in that season for a while. But the good stuff is when you can get out of that, even if you're in it, to just take an hour, a day, a week, once a month, once a year, whatever that is, to really look across your organization and say, here's where I want to go. Let me put some true thought and intention of how I'm going to get there. It will save you so much time and growth, and it allows you to put together your business with better strategy.
Yeah, I love it. I don't have to say anything because I say the same thing to people. So see, It's wisdom across the board. It's not just me, and it's not just Gabrielle. So this is really important to really hone into that, because that's how you grow and that's how you begin to scale. You got to get up to a higher level to see the whole picture. You got to be looking at the entire chessboard. So
You
that is,
have to get higher up to see down. When you're in the weeds of it, it is too hard. And then, that you unpack the rest of it, which I could totally go on my soapbox for 30 minutes about why it's important to have a why and why are you doing this and where are you going and having your vision and having it laid out and all that other stuff. Do that later. Well, no, do that first.
yeah.
But what I'm talking about is once you have that established, you really need to make the time to get out of the business and put some intention behind where you want to go and how you're going to get there, or you will never get there.
Yeah, I always like to remind all of us as entrepreneurs, we are our biggest problem. We are our biggest stumbling block. Okay. And that's why we get coaches. That's why we get people to help us, things like that, because they have the outside eyes to see what we just cannot see.
You
Like
can't
said,
see it, and it's no fault of our own. You're just too close to it. You're too into it. I can't even tell you the amount of light bulb moments I've had from people saying, "Well, do this," and I'm like, "Well, duh. Why didn't I think of that?" It's because I'm too close to it, and I'm a
that's right.
smart person, but
Right.
you're just too into the weeds to really see the common things that other people from the outside in who have more experience or just as much as experience to be able to say, "Here you go. This is where you should go."
And I'm going to take it all the way back around to something you said in the beginning about we all have egos. Okay. My ego, the first 20 years in my first business, kept me from being unbelievably successful. Right. It really brought my business down because I wouldn't accept help. And I had billionaires give me advice. What do they know? They don't build water fissures. Right. That was my mindset. I'm doing this all by myself. I'm getting all the credit.
I did
This is
that
going to be
too,
on me.
Richard.
Right. And it's just, we all do it. And
We all do it.
as soon as you realize you're being led by that, get out the box, stick it in there. That's your kryptonite, Superman. Put it in the lead box, close that sucker up and hide it. Okay. If you can put your ego on the shelf and just get into more like, hey, let's serve our customers. Let me serve the people who are on my team. Let me do this. Let me work on the business, right? All the things you just said, it'll change things. So I always like to give people that final ego reminder because it's a killer.
Yes.
It's not going to really move your business forward. You
I
think
see
it
the
is.
insides of a lot of businesses in my line of work because we're doing the back office. So I see their finances, I see their marketing, I see their hiring practices when I want to. I don't go snooping around, just to be clear. The businesses that in the 9 years, we usually keep clients for years. Once we get them, it's ours to lose. So we've seen them through lots of different seasons. The ones that I see struggle in those seasons the most are the ones that have the biggest egos. The ones that accept help, they know nor want to do all of the things, and they want to scale at an appropriate speed for them. And there's really no upside for them. They just want to do good work, or they just take their ego out of it. Plain and simple.
Right.
They're the most stable.
Yeah. And they're nice people.
Great
You
people.
could have, like you and I, we
We
can have
love
an hour
working
long,
with them.
you and I, we can have an hour-long conversation. We just met. It's great. See, it's easy because our egos are in check. We're not worried about who sounds better. I don't care. Gabrielle does.
So true.
Gabrielle knows more than me. So, and that's why she's
Oh, not
here.
true. That's not
But
true.
it's true. And we're going to leave it at that. It's my show. I will tell you what's true and what's not true.
Yes, sir.
But Gabrielle, this has been so awesome. How do people get in touch with you, follow you, connect with you, whatever you do? How do they do it?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple of different ways. So if people are interested in learning more about what I do from a business perspective, you can always check out getsourced.com. Company's name Sourced. We did a little bit of the Got Milk thing. So Get Sourced. If you want to follow me individually, I'm most active on LinkedIn. Gabrielle J. Mills is the handle, and Instagram, Gabrielle.speaks on Instagram.
There you go. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Gabrielle, thank you for the time today. This has been awesome. Just a really great podcast. Tons of info, tons of insight, which I knew we'd have. And I appreciate you making the time to be with the STS crowd. This has been awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Till next time, everybody. We'll see you again on STS.